In this video, we'll be starting the new topic of types of motivation, which is, by the way, a very easy topic. It is divided into these two subtopics, which is primary and secondary motivation and extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. Now, what is primary and secondary motivation? The two main types of motivation are primary and secondary motivation. Primary motivation can also be termed as basic motivation, which includes needs like hunger, thirst, avoidance of pain, sleep, and so on. These mainly influence an individual's behavior at a basic level, and these needs are also related to the basic need for preservation of self. Now, these mainly influence an individual's behavior at a basic level, and these needs are the needs I just mentioned. These mainly influence an individual's behavior at a basic level, and these needs are also related to the basic need for preservation of self. Now, secondary motivation can be termed as learned motivation. Now we saw primary motivation here. What is secondary motivation? Secondary motivation can be termed as learned motivation and may differ from individual to individual. They are also related to the priorities and values of the individual. So, secondary motivation is termed as learned motivation and is and it may differ from individual to individual. And it is also related to the secondary motivation is also related to the priorities and values of the individual. This will be further touched upon under drive reduction theory. Now, I won't dive into this drive reduction theory because the next video is going to be about after completing. In this video, we'll be completing the topic of types of motivation, and then in the next video, we'll be starting the topic of theories of motivation. And this is one of the theories of motivation we will discuss in the next video in depth. This is yet another way in which motivation can be categorized, extrinsic and intrinsic motivation. Now, let's start this. This is yet another way in which motivation can be categorized. Now, what is extrinsic motivation? Extrinsic motivation can be defined as motivation that comes from outside the person and usually involves rewards and praises. Rewards, praises, money, feedback, and so on. So, motivation that comes from outside the person and usually involves rewards and praises. What is it? Extrinsic motivation. These motivators can be applied to make individuals carry out activities that they may not do otherwise. And as such, these motivators provide satisfaction or pleasure that the task may not provide. Now, extrinsic motivation does not, no, no, extrinsic motivation does have a number of advantages as it is not only linked with the increase in performance. However, it can also be criticized. So, extrinsic motivation can also be criticized as if the reward, for example, is removed, then the behavior may also decrease. At the same time, if the reward remains the same and is not increased, then again motivation will decrease. Further, extrinsic motivation may be effective with simpler tasks as opposed to tasks that require creative and lateral thinking. What is extrinsic motivation? So extrinsic motivation may be effective with simpler tasks. So extrinsic motivation may be effective with simpler tasks, but not with the tasks that require creative and lateral thinking. Further, it may also affect the intrinsic motivation of the person carrying out the task. For example, now in this example, a child enjoys keeping his or her room organized and tidy. But if parents start providing reward for the same, the child will keep the room tidy not because of the intrinsic motivation which he had before, but that is the enjoyment, but will do because of the reward given by the parents. Now, what is intrinsic motivation? Intrinsic motivation can be defined as motivation that comes from within a person and includes the elements of challenge, enjoyment, mastery, and autonomy. For example, there could be an activity that an individual may simply enjoy doing. There are four components of intrinsic motivation: challenge, enjoyment, mastery, and autonomy and self determination. Now, let's see what is challenge. Challenge, this is related to the extent to which an individual enjoys the excitement that accompanies a new challenge. So, this is related to the extent to which an individual enjoys the excitement that accompanies a new challenge. Enjoyment. Now, enjoyment, this is related to the pleasure that an individual may obtain from carrying out a task. So, what is enjoyment? This is related to the pleasure that an individual may obtain from carrying out the task. Mastery. This is related to the sense of pride and accomplishment that an individual may experience. So, what is mastery? It is like a sense of pride and accomplishment that a particular individual may experience when he or she carries out a difficult task. Autonomy and self determination. The autonomy that an individual enjoys while carrying out the task, that is the freedom with which the individual can determine what is to be done and how it is to be done. Now let's read again. The autonomy that an individual enjoys while carrying out the task, that is the freedom with which the individual can determine what is to be done and how it is to be done. Intrinsic motivation plays an important role in enhancing the productivity as well as creativity in the individuals. So this is this point says that intrinsic motivation plays important role in enhancing productivity as well as creativity in individuals. So intrinsic motivation, it enhances productivity and creativity in the individuals. It plays an important role in enhancing productivity and creativity in the individuals. That is it for this video. As you might see, there was not much to explain here because these points are already simple and the topic was quite simple. I'll give you some time to take the screenshot, and I would recommend you to read this again if you want to after taking the screenshot. And I guess that is it for this video. I'll see you in the next video where we will start the topic of theories of motivation. Until then, subscribe to the channel, on the bell icon, and if you want to leave a like, you can leave a like.